evening, everybody, and welcome to Inside the Pigskin. And guess what? We got all 5 of us tonight. Coach Bono, fresh from Cancun. Did you get some sun? Then again, you live in Florida, so would you go there to get sun or check out the sights or what? Because when I was there, I watched the bullfighting when I was there and did a lot of other stuff out there over at Club Med. So how was your trip to Cancun, Coach?
It was good. It was a group trip. One of my wife's friends was celebrating a birthday, significant birthday. Don't want to put out any numbers there, but and it's a pact that they met. You know, her and her group made about probably 40 years ago, and we never left the resort. All inclusive resort. You know, a lot of sun. Man, just a lot of relaxation. That was the mission, and the mission was accomplished.
Very good. All right. Well, let me go over an overview with what we're talking. Only 3 of them, anyways, and I'll get to the rest of the group. First of all, we're going to talk about like father, like son, and when you talk about the 2 coaches participating in this weekend's United Football League Championship, you'll understand it. Mike Tomlin gets a 3-year deal, and at long last, I had to have everybody out for this one. The top 12 active quarterbacks in the National Football League, and I know Mike Crew's anxious to see my list. Okay, with that said, okay, as to the crew, obviously to my left is Coach Bono. Welcome back, Coach.
Great to be here.
And we got Travis Sherlock Holmes.
As always, thanks for having me.
And Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. How's it going? It's going great now that you're in there. All right. We got our buddy Bo. Welcome back, Bo.
How's it going, guys?
And last but not least, the man carrying the rock and the running back, Melfar Jr.
How's it going, guys?
All right. So let's get this bad boy started because I know these guys are waiting to get to my list. But like father, like son. United Football League Championship game, which we played on Sunday, is Skipholtz, the son of louholtz, who coaches for the Birmingham Stallions, who, by the way, did win the last 2 USFL championships, against Wadephillips, the son of Bumphillips, and they're facing San Antonio. Now, a little bit of information about Wadephillips. He's 55 years old, first time coaching at a championship game as a head man. And by the way, to add on, San Antonio's 1-0. Again, Birmingham, they'll play it in St. Louis. So, all right, I'm going to start off to Coach Bono. What are your thoughts about the fact that, you know, you have 2 great coaches, okay, and louholtz won it at Notre Dame, but now you have the sons following their dads in a pro football championship game. Some thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I think one of the things that league wanted to do was give itself some name recognition coming in. So those are 2 obviously highly recognized names in our sport. Good decision. I mean, they couldn't necessarily come out and trot out a bunch of rookie no-name guys that no one had ever heard of. I think that was smart. It's there's that whole league is kind of we're a place where coaches kind of have gone to extend their careers. They're not making a lot of money. They're doing it because they want to coach. And it's a league for coaches just like the players that are trying to prove themselves. So, you know, it says a lot about them, their ability to lead, their ability to find the right people, mold them together. And win football games. You know, I don't know about Coach Phillips. I think he's a little older than the 55 that you just threw out there, Scott. Probably more like 65.
Well, no, actually, to be honest with you, he's actually been coaching 55 plus years. He's 70.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
That makes way more sense. I was going to say that was a rough 55.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about the age, he's 76.
Yeah.
76.
I mean, he's got the energy to do that. You know, to put. You know, I don't care what level you're coaching. If it's even youth league football, if you're doing it the right way, it takes a tremendous amount of time and effort. You know, and more, you know, the more that you're compensated, the more that's expected of you, and the more that you have to put into it. So, I mean, just the fact that he's still coaching says a lot about him. I've always liked Coach Phillips. Don't know him personally really well, but from afar, I had a chance to work with his son Wes in LA, who's now the offensive coordinator out in Minnesota. Wes is an outstanding coach, and it's just a great football family, and really happy for both those guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think about Wade Phillips, he's been all over the place in 55 plus years. My gosh. I mean, let's face the reality. The United Football League had some good coaches. You have Mike Nolan, who led the Panthers to a 7-3 record, and you're talking about a bunch of experienced coaches that can actually go out there and teach a lot of these guys what you've got to do. So,
Yep.
I think it's just great. I think United Football League's had a pretty good first year under the current.
Bob Stoops.
Yeah, there's another one, Bob Stoops, too. So you got a lot of good veteran coaches, and I know at some point they'll expand. But Travis, what are your thoughts about this weekend's United Football League championship game?
I mean, you have two of the best teams. You have two of the better coaches, if not the best coaches that's available on coaching both teams. You got the lineage. You got Holtz. He coached USFL champion. The Birmingham won the 2 championships in a row when he was coaching that team also. So these aren't just guys building up the name recognition. Like, these are guys who actually legitimately know how to coach well, and also just happen to be in, genius, coaching legacy, bloodlines. I guess a lot like that Bill Belichick guy, who just happens to have a great bloodline of coaches, and they just know what the heck they're talking about. It's a great situation for the league. It's a great thing. I hadn't watched enough of their. I haven't watched the UFL games in the past 3 weeks, so I'm really hoping that these were good games to get to this point. Because when you guys said, hey, these big name coaches got into the championship game, I'm like, shenanigans. My first thought, immediate thought, with no thought, and it was just shenanigans. Something happened. Well, then I hope there were no consequential calls for the refs or anything along those lines. But it's been a great league. It's been a great year for them. It's a good situation for everybody all around.
Well, not only that, when they leave this league here with some of the quality of the coaches, let's face it, these guys could be on NFL squads, but you're going to probably see an exile of them. And with that said, I'll transition it over to Bo. Okay, what are your thoughts on what you've seen about the league and the coaching matchup that we have? And ironically, this is going to occur on Father's Day as well. So fathers like sons, okay, to me is appropriate on Father's Day, knowing that you have that incredible bloodline as you connect to it. So Bo, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the lineage is awesome, and watching these two teams go at it is going to be fun to watch, especially because both teams have good defense. It's the offenses that kind of have a little bit of a struggle moving the ball around. So Wade getting in there, I think, had a large part due to AJ McCarron being hurt in their championship game. So when he was going up against St. Louis, excuse me, he definitely wasn't the same guy. He had the ankle injury, ended up getting hit again on that ankle during the game. Now, that being said, the Brahmas were outplaying them anyway. Their defense was outplaying that team. So there was a really good chance that they were going to win that game regardless. But you always want to – you never want to have that question on if the opposing quarterback could have done something a little different if they were healthy. But that being said, going into this game, this is going to be a good matchup because of the way that Brahma's defense lines up against the Stallions' offense. Should be fun.
Well, let's face it, anything that Wade Phillips touches defensively usually turns into gold anyways. He's definitely one of the best defensive coordinators that's ever walked the sidelines for sure. With that said, Mel, you know what we're talking about? Please give us your perspective.
Yeah, I think obviously Wade Phillips, I think, is a underrated and undervalued coach. And he's one of those guys that I think a lot of guys would like to play for. And he seems like he's a player's coach, doesn't really hoop and holler, very much into the fundamentals of the game, into the X's and O's of it, and just allowing his players to go out there and play. But what the thing that I find interesting is that the MVP of the league, Adrian Martinez, who I don't know how, somehow or another, he just disappeared off in the preseason for the Lions when he was there back in 2023. I mean, he got out there, he played well, then all of a sudden he didn't get out there anymore. I really thought the kid was going to make the team. I really thought, obviously he's different than Jared Goff, and it would probably, if he were ever called into duty, the offense would probably have to change. But you can never have enough athletes on your football team. I think they're trying him out at some different positions too, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's the kind of guy, man, that you got to have on your roster. And he, again, just needed some reps, needed some live reps to be able to show people what he's able to do. And I think he's going to get an opportunity to be, to have an opportunity to be a backup somewhere now that people can see what he can do. And then, you're talking about AJ McCarron. I mean, he has to get released so that he could actually play. I think he's on the Bengals roster, or I can't remember. He's on somebody's roster, and he has to get released so that he could go out and play, because we wanted his kids to be able to see him play. And he's been outstanding, and I think he deserves an opportunity to be to compete for a job somewhere, whether it's second string job or pushing the starter, or somebody who might be able to come in and, if the starter gets hurt, and might be able to get you a bridge for 3 or 4 games if necessary. These are the kind of players that you need. So often we see that when the second stringer gets in, there's such a fall off in the play. I mean, look what the Giants had last year. I mean, they had the guy, who was it? The Vito guy or whatever it was, DeVito or whoever. I mean, he went out there and had a couple great games or whatever. But so often on these rosters, because of the way they're constructed and with the salary cap, there's a big fall off between the starter and the guy that's behind him. And, because for whatever reason, they just don't like those players to compete at that position. I mean, they need to compete. Everybody needs to compete. That's the way your team gets better, is everybody's competing. O-line is competing, running backs are competing, wide receivers are competing. Everybody's competing except for that, in that quarterback room. And that's the only way you're going to get better is if everybody's competing. So, I'm looking forward to seeing this game.
Yeah, me too. I'll be curious to see where Martinez lands. I don't know if he'll end up back with the Lions or not, but you know what? After what they've seen, who knows? But the one guy I'm anxious to see, not in this game, is Jake Bates. Obviously, he proved he was human by missing a couple of 50-yarders the last couple of weeks. But you put him in a dome stadium, and I think the Lions are actually in contact with him. He's probably going to see him next week, so I wouldn't be surprised. But in the end, it should be an interesting matchup. And again, you're talking Holtz against Phillips, a lot of background between fathers and sons. I don't think you can have a much better backdrop. I've enjoyed watching the league, and I'll be curious to see as time goes on how much it grows and whether they have expansion as what teams ultimately wind up. But I think it's been a first good act. I think the TV has been solid as well. All right, we're going to go to Candy for a moment. She could go out there and give us a station break, and we got 2 topics, but the third one is a heavyweight. So go ahead, Can.
This show is sponsored by South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, and we published our first book, and the author is none other than Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth, Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, Apple, and we are working on the audio version. If you like to check out our website, it's www.southfloridatribune.com. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to sponsor the show, you can call Scott, 954-304-4941. Scott, back to you.
All right, and also you can find us on Twitter, X, at Tribune South as well.
Scott, I want to say one thing, what you said about the TV. They could do a better job promoting the league. They could do a better job, because most of the time you just happen on a game. You don't know a game is on. Sometimes they might start at 11. They could do a better job scheduling these games. It seems like they're just getting what's left over. Sometimes the game might start at 11, might be 1:30 or 12:30 or whatever. Most of the time when you're looking at you're flicking through the channels, like, the game is on. Let me check it out. They need to have a certain time slot where we know, okay, this is going to be UFL football. It's going to be at a certain time. And it'd be nice for it to be in prime time, in the evening, so you have an opportunity to watch it.
That's a great point, Mel.
That's more
if
money,
you don't
though.
yeah, I mean, if you don't,
they don't promote it. I mean, you don't know what time the games are coming on. You just kind of catch it. Oh, hey, there's a game on. Let me check it out.
Well, let me tell you, you guys are really on point. I've had to go to some Marlins games, and I've actually missed these games because I have to make sure my bread is buttered down over at Lone Depot Park. So, but yeah, I mean, right now this league is definitely a league that could be a primetime league, and everybody likes football in prime time. It's proven. You got Saturday and Sunday to work with. You have what, 8 teams so far, or is it 10? I don't know. I think you got 8 right now. Whatever. The United Football League to me is a prime time league. There's no question about that early on, and there's no question the growth is unbelievable, and the fact that they do have the best players now in the spring versus the 2 leagues when they were apart. So you're right, Mel. I'm sure they'll probably re-examine what they could do a little bit different. They had a different set of TV partners last year at NBC, not in the picture. You have ESPN and you have Fox running it. So I'm sure they'll definitely be looking at ways to improve it for sure, but thanks for bringing that up. We appreciate that.
It is partially owned by Fox. So, I mean, because the UFL is co-owned by it with Dwayne Johnson. So that really locks that Fox broadcast in.
Right. Well, we all know Fox has big money anyways. So that's, they'll probably dictate, get what they want to get out of it. So for sure. Good points all the way around. All right. Well, we're going to Pittsburgh for a moment, and then we're really going to have a lot of fun after that. So Mike Tomlin's getting a 3-year extension to stay with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is that the worst kept secret on the planet, Coach Bono?
It is. I think it's a good move. I think they've got a great coach there. He's weathered through the storms. We'll see if they get the offense straightened out this year and moving in the right direction, but they're going to have great competition at the very least at the quarterback position. And, he's the face of that franchise. Look, I'm a big, I was a big Tony Dungy fan, big Jim Caldwell fan. Coach Tomlin's off of that tree, and what he's been able to accomplish throughout his career in a very, very difficult. Look, Pittsburgh has high expectations. That's not an easy town to coach in. Those fans expect the very best. They had a great run with Roethlisberger. They're trying to find that next franchise quarterback, and kudos to the management there. I hope that Mike Tomlin's able to coach as long as he wants to coach, and because I think he's one of the good guys in our industry.
All right, let's talk. All right, so the United Football League Championship game is this Sunday, June 16th at 5:00 p.m. on Fox. So there you have it. We'll do a little bit of promoting for him. So with that said, you know what? Mike Tomlin, to me, he had a losing season. He has a Super Bowl in his pocket. Then again, so did Bill Cowher and so did Chuck Noll. You're talking about 3 coaches in 55 years, and the Carolina Panthers have had 5 coaches in a couple of years. There's a difference between stability and instability, and we all know that the Pittsburgh Steelers has always been the class of the NFL.
And I'll say this too. I mean, the Steelers have figured out that one of the keys to success is continuity. They know they've got a good guy. They know he fits their mold. He coaches the style of football. He's the type of person in front of the camera, more importantly, in front of the team that they want, that projects that Steeler toughness, that image, and they get it. I mean, there's so many other franchises, and we all talk about them. They change coaching staffs like they change socks. You have to give somebody enough time to put their stamp on a program. As fast as things move and as frequently as things change in this league, because of free agency and salary cap and all of those things, the ability, if you have the right guy at the top and that, and you can build around him and let him build a team and in his vision, I'm just shocked that more teams, more franchises don't get it. They just don't. They don't get it. They're looking for the next golden goose, and they don't make good decisions in my mind.
Well, no. I mean, let's face reality. You've obviously been a coach a long time yourself. You've seen it from that side of the pendulum, right, Coach? So I mean, you know what they do on the front from the front office, and you've been a part of it. So anybody respects your opinion. I certainly do myself, so you don't have to worry about that. So yeah, we'll definitely take your words of wisdom and let everybody else benefit from them. All right, Travis, some thoughts about Mr. Tomlin.
Well, in response to, I guess, everything we were originally setting out, it helps for Tomlin's situation that he was put into a situation that was already stable. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Most head coaches are being hired because it was an unstable situation. Like heck, even Andy Reid, when he went to the Kansas City Chiefs, that was because that was a seriously injured team, but they weren't a bad team the year before that. They were a good team that got seriously injured that allowed them to get a top pick, and then you're off to the races at that point. Most situations just aren't the situation that Mike Tomlin was able to be fortunate enough to get into. Good for him. He was able to have the time to show that he was a great coach. I mean, he started off early hot and kind of just never fell off. I mean, 17 years, no losing records, Super Bowl win, like you already said. Like in every other aspect, he's considered the coaching Peyton Manning. Like that's basically what this is. Mike Tomlin is Black Peyton Manning. I don't know what to say. Like that's it. He is that guy who's already, if he does nothing else, he should be arguably in that conversation of the top, 3 to 5 coaches, pretty much guaranteed. And had he been a worse coach, they probably would have been better now, because sometimes they just haven't had a good enough team to truly be that game above 500. But he's been able to get that team right and coach them up to do the impossible with no quarterback or major chips in the arm and major flaws within the team. So all that to say is it's a great situation for the Steelers, despite the certain segment of the fans who maybe want him out the paint because they are just impatient. But to your answer to your coach, to your question, Coach Bono, some teams can't do this because they don't have the general manager, or they don't have the structure in place outside of that coach to put him in a good situation to keep to do this early for those impatient fans who want wins immediately.
Well, let's face the reality. Had Tomlin had been let go, he would have had a job the next day. I mean, they'd be knocking on his door anyway.
Boy.
So,
No
I mean,
question.
I have never seen a coach, if you let him go, don't worry, he's employed the next day. And let's face the reality. I don't know if the logistics of the Rooney Rule is much where you have to interview 2 minority candidates, but you have one already, so you need to go ahead and interview the other one. So, but he'd have had a job the next day. So, But that said, Bo, you can. What do you think about this?
Yeah, it's funny what half a football season can do, because when we were looking at the first half of the season, all anybody wanted to talk about is how Tomlin was going to get his first losing season and they were going to force him out. And then you get through the end of the year, now he has a 3-year extension. So talk about turning it around. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you move on from a guy that hasn't lost. I mean,
Right.
That's a tough thing to wrap your head around. Not to say that people don't do it, but it never seems like the right move. Otherwise, it ends up kind of like that NBA deal where your coach is winning 3/4 of the game, and then you bring Doc Rivers in and blows the thing up. So, so I mean, if you got a coach that consistently wins, that should be your guy.
That's a great point. I'm not touching that one. All right, Mel, you touch it. I'm leaving. I mean, come on. Some points are just good and some are great. And Bo, Bo, football talk with Bo. I didn't know we had basketball talk with Bo next. I mean, maybe you need to come up with another name if you ever get into hoops territory. Basketball talk with Bo.
I don't got time for that.
I know to a lot of people. But all right, go ahead, Mel. That was good.
Yeah. We're talking about one thing, but you were talking about Andy Reid and Kansas City Chiefs. They traded up to get Mahomes. It wasn't like they got the first overall draft pick when they obviously when their fortunes change. But it's a no-brainer to keep Mike Tomlin. I mean, he's a leader of men, and you can see that. And he's had some challenging situations there. He's had some challenging people that he's had to deal with. He's had some characters over there, particularly Antonio Brown that he had to deal with. And, Ben Roethlisberger, he had his own type of personality as well that Mike Tomlin had to deal with. But, I mean, they realize that they have a leader of men, and he's probably part of the reason why these owners think that things can change around in a hurry. But he was put in a good situation when he got hired there. They had a quarterback, and so he had something to build upon. And it was just a matter of him, building upon what was already there. Not necessarily just hanging on, but building upon what it was that was already established there in Pittsburgh. And I think he's definitely put his stamp on that franchise, and you know what you're going to get. You have to be impressed with the division that they play in as well. For him to do what he's done, never have a losing season in that AFC North. I mean, that's not a cakewalk. That's a very difficult conference to play or division to play in. I mean, that's a headache every other week that you're going to be dealing with. You got to make sure that your chin strap is buckled tight, because the Ravens are coming, the Bengals are coming. Those teams are coming, and the Browns, they've been a little bit. It's still,
but don't sell them short.
Coach knows one thing. If Coach knows anything, he knows this: wins are very difficult to come by in the NFL, and to be able to never finish below 500, that's impressive.
Oh, yeah.
That's extremely impressive.
Right.
And with some of the situations he's had to deal with at the quarterback position, whether it was the Mason Rudolphs or whoever it was that was playing quarterback, I mean, he still found a way to make sure that his team finished 500 or better. That's very, very impressive. Now, obviously, that's not what they're there for. That's not what they hired him for. They didn't hire him to be 500. If that was the case, they could have hired what's the guy's name that was at Tennessee all those years? It was Mr. 500. Used to be defensive, huh?
Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher, yeah. If they wanted to be 500 all the time, they could have just hired Jeff Fisher. But that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to win championships. So he's got an extension. He can breathe a sigh of relief. But I think what Coach was saying, there's now that there are already been expectations there, and now that he's got another contract, there's going to be even larger expectations. And one thing I can tell you is, year in and year out, it gets more difficult. But I'm happy for him. I think he's a great coach. He seems a great guy and a great leader of men.
Well, let me tell you something. Don't sell Kevin Stefanski short. Remember, he did win with Joe Flacco last year.
Kevin Stefanski wasn't there the whole all them 17 years. I mean, they had.
I know. I know.
They've had quite a
Jackson. They also had Butch Davis, I think.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson, right.
I did have one response, though, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
What I was referencing was not them drafting Pat Mahomes. It was actually what got Andy Reid hired. They ended up going they won 2 games with my Jaguars that year because they had some serious injuries. That's what got him hired. But then they actually ended up having a good season the next year, and then traded for Mahomes in that following draft. But they were a solid team. They were just injured.
Yeah, the quarterback there. I mean, he played lights out.
Yeah. That's all I meant. And also, I heard it on a podcast from a former GM. I believe he was a former GM for the Minnesota Vikings. That a lot of owners in the NFL don't necessarily view it for championships. They just view it as how often you can go above 500 and how frequently you can stay in the playoffs. And that's the long-term view of an ownership or of a general manager's job. If you can consistently stay in the playoffs, then you'll always have that chance of having the fans engage, and you'll always have that chance of potentially fighting for a Super Bowl win, even if you're not a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, well, our Lions weren't like that. Our Lions were definitely not like that for a long time. It didn't care.
Yeah.
500 or not, it didn't matter.
Yeah. Well, let's not kid ourselves. Yeah, but come on, Mel, you are so right. I mean, but the biggest point that you make, though, that I really like is that division now with Cleveland good, okay, Cincinnati, and then you got Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. That is a fair when you're facing those guys at least 6 times a year to begin with. So now it is undoubtedly the toughest division, I think, in the NFL. I mean, there's no question about that. And the Lions are a different subject for another time because we know they haven't been relevant until lately. But the reality is they are relevant. And I know I'm kidding around about the Browns because Stefanski's only been there a couple of years. Other than that, it's been a big circus prior to that. All right. Well, now the topic that everybody has been waiting for. I don't have a dartboard in my studio, but I think I got 4 of them that are ready to throw darts at about what I'm about to do here, and that's get buried by my crew. So, but I can handle it. Okay, I can handle
So you
it.
put,
I'm a big
put your
boy.
list up. Put your list up, Scott.
Lift up what?
Put your list up. What's your list?
Oh no, I'm gonna read it. I want
Oh,
you guys.
you didn't make a.
Oh, we didn't have any. We don't have any graphics.
I
Come
think
on.
we were gonna make a
There's
slide.
my graphics. Okay,
Yeah, I thought it had some graphics.
Oh no! Are you kidding? I wasn't a drawer in my family, for crying out loud. I couldn't draw even a snowman, let alone that. I don't care about all this. What is it? A1.
He's not trying to become a meme.
No. Well, first of all, Bo, I have a question for you. What is a meme? I don't even know what it is.
Oh wow.
That could become the meme right there.
That was it. That's it.
I don't even
Anybody
know
that
what
has
a
their
meme
captions on.
I don't even know what a meme is. I don't even know. All I know, and I just learned recently earlier in the year what AI is, artificial intelligence. I must be showing a lot of artificial intelligence with this list because I know I'm going to get peppered anyways. It doesn't matter. Come on, everybody. Join in for the onslaught of the Motor City Madness I can have. Okay, what am I talking about? The top 12 active quarterbacks in the NFL. And I have a feeling, folks, you aren't getting any parting shots. I'm getting direct shots instead. So it doesn't matter. All right. So I guess I have a feeling that you guys want me to do this first, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. The reason, and I'll tell you what, the reason why everybody's asking me to do it first, just so you know, folks, is I do not have Dak Prescott on my list out of 12. So where do we go from here? Come on, chat room, light it up. I'm ready now. All right, number 1 on my list is Patrick Mahomes. Okay, guess we can make a case for that. Number 2, we got Josh Allen, right? Number 3, Matthew Stafford. Doesn't mean they're in a particular order. I just wrote them down. Although this may be as close to an order as I'm going to put them anyway. Number 4, Joe Burrow. Okay, here we go. Joe Burrow. The next one I have is Jared Goff. Lamarjackson is number 6. Number 7 is Justin Herbert. Number 8 is Aaron Rodgers. Number 9 is Jalen Hurts. And I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't hurt me to get hammered by you guys either, pun intended. Okay. Number 10 is Russell Wilson. Okay. Number 11 is Brock Purdy. And number 12 is Kirkcousins. Why would I put all of those in and not Dak Prescott? Here's my thinking behind it all. Okay. Whether I can justify it or not, a lot of these guys have won in the playoffs and they've won Super Bowls. Tell me where Dak Prescott has won more than 2 games and the Cowboys haven't been to the NFC Championship game in 1995. The only thing Dak Prescott does well, in my opinion, he does a great press conference about what he could have done. I don't want to hear it, Dak. The amount of money that you're going out there being paid by Jerry Jones, who's a de facto general manager, Dak, I don't want to hear about your fancy press conference. Give me a break. You can't win in the playoffs. Come on, Travis. I'm going to tell you this. I'm challenging you right now. You and I were at the Cowboys and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm always waiting for Dak Prescott to make that one mistake that cost his team something, okay? I don't want to dictate I don't care. He always finds a way to blow it. And the Lions game, that the gods of Dallas, okay, the Lions get burned there and smoked in Dallas anyways. They really do. And if you think beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to me is a real victory, okay, but you can't get past the first round for the most part. And Dak Prescott is not a clutch playoff quarterback. And that's where I'm basing everything I have. Well, let me finish. Hold on. Now you'll have your turn. I mean, I understand that this is a hot
I just got a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Only because you have Cousins on that list who has almost the identical record and is less clutch in prime time. We're not even talking playoffs yet. He just has something that happens in the afternoon, and it's a problem.
Yeah, but here's where I differentiated Cousins from Dak Prescott. Okay, he's got a great agent. Hire his agent. All that guaranteed money he ended up getting in the NFL. Come on, at least he's smart. I mean, obviously, we wonder a little bit about his post. I like Kirk Cousins. Don't ask me why.
You cutting your legs out of your argument right now, sir.
Right? Like that. that does nothing for on the field play. What do we?
Doesn't make any difference. This is my list. I think Cousins is better than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott cannot win in the playoffs, and all the other ones. If you don't agree with Cousins, you can't. Nobody can knock the other 11. Okay, so I'm just saying. Hey, listen. I knew that. I was glad I got all 5 of us back together on this because I knew that I don't mind facing ridicule. It's okay. It doesn't matter. I hope Dak Prescott makes my top 10 next year, depending on where he's playing, because right now they're grooming his successor, Trey Lance, in case Jerry doesn't want to pay this guy. I mean,
I feel like throwing Wilson in there was like pulling the pin out of a grenade and throwing the pin.
Wait, say that again? Say that again? I didn't hear it.
I said having Russell Wilson in there was like pulling the pin out of a grenade and then throwing the pin. Like,
well, maybe
he really hasn't played well the last few years.
Yeah, but he's got some jewelry called Super Bowl rings. So what does Dak Prescott have?
It's 11 years ago, but yeah.
Hey, you know what? Dan Marino didn't even get one.
So he wouldn't make your top 10.
Dan Marino? Hey, listen, I may not like the guy personally because I have another story behind that, but he would actually make my top 10. I would, because I have to be neutral and objective. That's what they teach us in journalism, okay? Neutral and objective. I would easily put Dan Marino in the top 10 list all day long, of all time. And you know what? Now that I have the active one, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to have another subject on this about the top 12 of all time. I don't think I'll get hammered on that one as I'm getting here only because of Dak Prescott. I don't care. I'm not a Dak Prescott believer. I'll take Kirk Cousins. I really had to think. And I'll tell you what. And if I didn't put Cousins, you know who I was going to put in there? I was going to put Trevor Lawrence. I wasn't sold on Dak. And I'll tell you why I would have put Trevor Lawrence in there. He made it to the AFC Championship game. Dak hasn't split the conference championship game. And you know what? I don't count what happened to Trevor Lawrence's first year because he had Urban. I'll go out on a drink Meyer out in Cincinnati only to get railroaded out of time and not even make it to the end of the year. So
you are unreasonably a Dak hater at this point. You are out on the ledge with it.
Well,
you're
Like I'm not even a Dak fan, and I feel bad for the guy.
Right?
If I have to go out there and bring Urban Meyer into this show,
you lost me when you brought in Russell Wilson. Hey, you lost
100%.
Well, that's fine. That's okay, Mel. I can't wait to get your list, but I won't back in the top
12. Yes. So who's next? Who's up?
Like,
let's talk about it.
Now I'm really curious. Like we got Minshew, and like you bringing Matt Flynn in for a 1-day contract or something. Like what do we do?
All right. Well, let me ask you this. I knew I was going to get hammered from you guys. I knew you guys didn't elect the Cousins thing, but you know what? I still like him over Dak, and I like Lawrence over Dak. So you know what?
I have Cousins over Dak.
That's an egregious take. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I got Cousins over Dak on my list, but they both are on the list.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? Who wants to go next? I said my piece. Everybody's been waiting forever for it. I can't wait till we do the whole time.
I don't mind if you want to go in order, or I can go now.
All right, go on, Travis. You can go next.
I mean, of course, the mutant has to be first. I mean, Pat Mahomes always. He's if he's not number one on your list is all kinds of wrong. Josh Allen, because if he wasn't number 2, I mean, that guy would have at least 2 or 3 championships right now if Pat Mahomes wasn't alive. I got Lamar Jackson at 3. I know he's not everyone's type of quarterback for fill in the blank reason, however you like to run an offense. But at the end of the day, the film he puts out there, the ability to move an offense, says it's second to none other than those first 2 guys I just named. And then you got Joe Burrow as 4 because again he can change an entire game. He can put an entire problematic offense on his back and still make it to a championship game. He's already shown you he can do it. At 5, that was my first harder one. I put Brock Purdy. There's still the conversation of whether or not it's the offense, whether or not he's just able to run it, whether he's the best system quarterback on the list, whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, I think that's where he deserves to be. Justin Herbert is my number 6, and I know that's going to make a lot of people in Jacksonville mad because they think that Trevor Lawrence should be ranked higher than him in all rankings. I just think he's more of an arm talent who just been thrown to the back simply because of bad coaching. That's just my personal opinion. And then you got
bad defense over there,
and bad defense and a limited running game, because even when he had Austin Eckler, he still wasn't a great running the ball. He's just good at getting the ball in passing game. Jared Goff is who I put at 7. I just like the way he throws a rock. I like the way he reads defense. Like, he's not like the most armed. He doesn't have the most arm talent, but he's able to use it just in a very good way and kind of matriculate the ball down the field. And then I put, where I was in agreement with you, Scott, Kirk Cousins at 8. Again, he is still above Dak in this list. He is just they both are on the list.
Okay.
Then follow that up with Trevor Lawrence at number 9. I did have him in the top 10. And that's not my homerism, I promise you. That's just based on what he puts in the film. That man makes throws that a lot of other quarterbacks simply cannot make. He just needs a little bit more help every so often. Jordan Love at 10. A good offensive system with Matt LaFleur, and he finally was able to kind of put it together. I'm high on him. And I put Dak Prescott at 11. I feel like all those guys from that 7 to 11 range, Jared Goff all the way down to Dak Prescott, they feel like the exact same quarterback. Just all the chinks in the armor. You can shake them up with that whole Yahtzee game and just roll them in whatever order they come out. That I wouldn't argue hard, because they're at the end of it, they're the same general.
Jared Goff's been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Jared Goff had a better OC. I mean, all these guys can make these same general arguments. I'm not that guy I don't like quarterback wins as a stat. It can be good if it's a clutch situation, but outside of that, then otherwise it's just great. He had a better coach. Great. The other guy had a better GM. I don't know. And then finally, I wrapped it up with Matt Stafford at 12. Again, great GM, a good situation, but you've seen him in bad situations also crumble. So, like, at the end of the day, that's the chicken and the egg conversation for me.
Pretty good list. So what was the only difference between your list and mine?
I mean, yours didn't have Dak Prescott in it, and I thought you were crazy.
Yeah,
and you had Russell Wilson.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, you lost everybody with that one.
Man, you put raisins. You put raisins in the mashed potatoes at that point. I don't know what to do with this.
Raisins and mashed potatoes. I've never had that combination.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that it was. I'm not so sure at the time when I've been feeling good, I really want that combination. Although I do have good news for you guys today. That I had a doctor's appointment. That my diabetes doctor is really happy with my progress. Just so you know, my A1C getting back under control.
Travis, I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
What kept Aaron Rodgers off your list?
Recency bias. I mean, I'm 100% on it. I don't believe we said with our top 12 active quarterbacks, and actively, I don't know what he is. And I don't know that he's going to be able to carry an offense like any of those guys that I named, even in the top 8. I mean, I might even put Kirk Cousins over it and he's recently injured. But I have more confidence in him coming back versus Rodgers, who I haven't seen play at his all-pro level, or I won't even say that, his Pro Bowl level. I haven't seen him do that in 4 years? Like, I mean, we are getting there to that point where if he was a wide receiver, this wouldn't even be a conversation. We'd be like, oh, no, he fell off the cliff. Like, if it's any other position other than quarterback, we'd be like, yeah, whatever. But quarterbacks are sparse. Like, there's not a lot of them out there. So we're going to hold out hope that he's that old guy that we remember seeing when he was, incredible. So I don't know how to feel about him. But Tua, Jalen, Rodgers all fell out of my top 12, and I knew that would be a conversation.
Yeah, but you know what? Tua, the reason he never made my list is if you think I'm putting this guy in because he had one healthy season and played 17 games and he's ready to renegotiate his contract, I'm not so sure I'm drinking that Kool-Aid. But you know what? That's interesting. All right, well, let's go over to Mel. Okay, let's hear your list, Mr. Farr.
All right, so I was looking at this here before we got on there because I had to do some research. So the Pro Football Focus, they're the Bible of everything football, right? So they have their little tiers and whatnot. They have their little quarterbacks ranked. I'm gonna give you theirs, and then I'm gonna tell you mine. And mine is not in any particular order. They're just my top 12. So Mahomes is in a tier by himself. He's in the Mahomes tier. Then they have the elite, which is Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Then they have postseason caliber QBs: Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott at number 6, Matthew Stafford 7, Aaron Rodgers 8, Jalen Hurts 9, C.J. Stroud 10. Then they have the melting pot of starters. They got Jordan Love at number 11 and Trevor Lawrence at 12. Okay, that's what they have. Now, for me, I got to have the guys that were in the championship games leading it up to the Super Bowl. I mean, you have to be in the top, one of the top 12 quarterbacks if you led your team to a championship. So obviously you have Mahomes, and it's like I said, it's not in any particular order, but I mean, I got Mahomes, I got Lamar, I got Joe Burrow, I got Josh Allen, I got Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers. I got C.J. Stroud, and I got 11. I see. I put Hurts in there twice, so I've got 11. And,
Hurts believer right there.
no. I just somehow or another I just put him in there twice.
Well, you really
So,
think
and
that
then
was
Jordan
double?
Love, and then Jordan Love. That would be my top 12. Jordan Love.
Love over Tua.
Oh, absolutely, without question.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I think what I like about some of your lists, though, as far as you do bring a lot of the younger quarterbacks in that haven't won titles, so you're looking at potential for titles. So I can appreciate that both ways. I mean, Jordan Love doesn't have one, but all he did was sit by Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I mean, he was tough to deal with at the end of the year. I mean, he was tough.
Yeah, no, he was playing good football. There's no question about
playing
that.
great football.
Yeah.
So Mel, were you giving preference to what people have done, or were you just looking at what you think they will do? How did you view yours?
I am looking at the 2024. Okay, the projected starters for 2024, and then my top 12 for the projected starters to 2024. So yeah, obviously I'm looking at what they did. I mean, we don't have much, but C.J. Stroud had an outstanding year. I mean, I think he put himself in the conversation to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL based on his play. And you don't think, you think that he's just going to get better. Jordan Love, based on his play. The year before wasn't so good. Last year was good. Was it the year? No, it wasn't the year before. I mean, starting out the season, he wasn't so good, but he finished up strong.
Yeah.
So you have to say that, he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks. I think he played a little bit when Aaron Rodgers was hurt, and he didn't look all that great. But hey, he looked very, very good. Brock Purdy, he was in the Super Bowl. He took his team to the Super Bowl. How can he not be top 12 quarterback? So that's how I look at it. I'm not real high on Tua. I'm not real excited about Jalen Hurts, but he's played like a top 12 quarterback. He hasn't thrown the ball as well as I would like, and I think last year because he was hurt, that kind of had an effect on his production last year and his ability to do what he does, to be himself. So I'm going to give him that, but still, I still think he's one of the top 12 quarterbacks.
Okay.
And of course, Dak Prescott's in there. I mean, without question, Dak is in there.
I got you. I was just trying to confirm. You said you wanted all the quarterbacks that were in that were deeper in the playoffs, and you didn't have Tua.
Kirk Cousins wasn't in there. Where was Kurt at? Where was Kirk?
Well, right now, Mel, he's in Atlanta with you.
He's
in Atlanta with that grill.
I live in Atlanta, but Atlanta's not my team. I live here.
I know, but I'm just saying he's in Atlanta with you. So you know what? You may not root for him, but guess what? You're going to hear about him from every radio station, podcast, TV station, whether you like it or not. So
probably not. I mean, we're going to be hearing about this controversy, that they started by drafting that quarterback in the first round. That's what we're going to hear about.
I know, but right now he's collecting Atlanta coin, and you're there.
Yeah, well,
well, maybe we can.
That's Arthur's problem. That's an Arthur problem. That ain't my problem.
Well, I know. Maybe we can work out something where you and I and Kirk Cousins can go out there and go to the Big Chicken off of I-75. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Let's see.
I don't have any problem breaking bread with Kirk.
I didn't say I did either. But you know what we do? We get him to pick up the tab with all that guaranteed money he's made.
I would hope so.
He's going to meet it's Kirk Cousins. He's going to meet you at the little food stand in a Kohl's. Like you're not even going out to dinner, right?
You know where he's going to meet us
at the mall.
No, he's going to meet us in Buckhead. Is where he's going to meet us.
Kirk would probably make us go Dutch.
For real.
I mean, he's a legend at the bank for a reason.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're gonna Mel. You and I are gonna put the hard sell on.
He's
Come
been
on,
robbing
Kurt.
folks with no mask and no gun for a number of years.
Yeah, you got to take us to Buckhead, Kurt. There you go. All right, go ahead, Bo. I couldn't help it, Mel. You're giving a hard time to Kirkcousins, and he played in your city.
It's okay.
Okay. All right,
I have a quarterback playing in my city that's not in my top 10 too.
Sure.
And I even like how he's played, but he's not top 10.
He's played very well.
Obviously mine starts off the same as everybody else that watches football for more than 2 seconds is Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar. Like those are no-brainers, right? So then I have Stafford. He's going to have some new toys this year. They played well last year anyway, and historically has played well through his career. I got Hurts. He's played well. Like Mel said, he hasn't thrown the ball necessarily how you want him to, but he finds ways to win. He makes a difference when he has to. So that is one of those intangibles you need to see out of a quarterback. And then I have Kirk Cousins, Dak, Goff, and those guys are kind of interchangeable within those areas because they kind of do a lot of the same stuff. Now, Goff has had more success as far as going further in the playoffs, but those three guys are a little bit interchangeable there. And then 10, I have Herbert, and he should be higher on this list. He just unfortunately hasn't had good coaching, and we haven't really seen him utilize all the potential he has. And so I fully expect him to be higher on this list as this year goes on, but I projected this based on what we've seen into this year and where I think they're going to go. So then at 11, I have Stroud. Had a fantastic year. He has spent a lot of time in this offseason running his mouth, though. So he's got some tough sledding ahead of him because he's been talking about other teams' defenses. And if you're a quarterback, I don't know why you are signing yourself up for a lot of bulletin board material before the season even starts. But, hey, good on him. Hope he makes it through the season. And then 12 is, I have Purdy / Love. They both kind of can fit that bill. Purdy has a lot of success because of the team that's around him. And not to say that he's not a good talent. Obviously, he makes good decisions. And then Love came on at the end of the year. If I had to give it to one of them, I'd give it to Purdy just based on what he's been able to do. But the guys that I left off, guys like Tua, he's had one good season.
Right.
I don't feel good about him moving forward. He had one season where he's been healthy. I can't say that that's going to be true this coming year. The only reason Burrow is as high as he is he gets hurt every other year, and he was hurt last year, which means this year he's probably fine. Trevor Lawrence, again, turnover machine. He's one of those guys that I think should be better than what we've seen. Rodgers, we don't know what he is, right? He's been injured. He's coming back off a wicked injury. And then I don't know why everybody's just pretending like he didn't have a bad season before he got hurt. So a team that Jordan Love excelled with.
I think he had a bad playoffs.
Yeah,
his season was pretty good.
Exactly. And then, guys like Watson and Wilson, I mean, they're just wildly inconsistent at this point in their career, so they can't be a top 10 in my mind. So that's kind of where I went there.
So to confirm, you have Burrow over Lamar. Was that correct?
No, I have Lamar over Burrow.
Gotcha.
You said the
it's
opposite.
just the way that I read
You
it
did
off.
say the opposite. Yes.
No, so if I were to rank them, I would have Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow. And a lot of the reason why Burrow isn't, ahead of Lamar is availability.
He's hurt.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Because we know what he can do when he's in there.
No doubt.
Bo, You know, your list is a lot more straightforward. I knew I was inviting myself to get grenaded anyways, and I didn't care.
I don't know.
That
You had
doesn't
something in
matter.
your drink or something, man. I don't know.
You talk about what I drank
Not
today. All I
owns
had
that
was
he's a hater. He just leans into
I mean,
it. He
Russell
just-
Wilson, maybe Russell Wilson's on coach's list. Maybe he'll save you. Okay.
well. No, maybe Mike Tomlin. No, you know what'll happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Mike Tomlin's
like
going
the
to
coach
see
is
me.
like, I'm tapping out.
Here's what's going to happen. Mike Tomlin is going to save me from ridicule from you next year when he finally gets Russell
Hey,
Wilson figured out.
I want him to do well.
That's what you
but
think
he's
will
just not
happen?
right now, based on what like Janet Jackson said. What have you done for me lately? He hasn't done much lately.
That's the NFL, right? It's always the NFL. Besides, do you think Wilson's even going to start the whole year?
It's a great question.
Well, I don't know. Time will tell, won't it? All right. Last but not least, Coach Bono. All right. Hey, Ralph, how you doing?
My top four were Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and then Joe Burrow. Okay. From there, number 5, I have Stafford. Hard for me to not like him. Was with him in 2 different franchises. I just know how competitive he is. He's got the Super Bowl ring. I think they exceeded expectations last year. After that, I had Hurts. I know not a great season, but I just think he's got a lot of intangibles that you can't coach, and he's a physical freak. Then I had Goff, who, if you'd asked me a year ago, wouldn't been in my top 12. But let's face it, he was brought to Detroit. He was supposed to be the stopgap guy,
Right.
and he has exceeded by far everybody's expectations. I think he needed somebody. He needed a staff and a head coach and an offensive coordinator that believed in him. I saw firsthand what that relationship was like in LA, and it was not great. I don't know how much of that's documented, but it was not a good. McVay was very, very tough on him, and I think Sean lost confidence in him, which is why they traded him away. A big reason why. Hebert is next. I think Jim Harbaugh will be the perfect coach for him because of what a lot of guys have pointed out. Jim's going to run the football. He's going to find a way to run the football. What did they pick first in the draft? An offensive lineman. They're going to establish that. That's going to take a lot of pressure off of him. And, I just see those personalities meshing really well. We might be looking at potentially, I don't like to make predictions, but this could be the new, Sean Payton, Drew Brees combination, I really like Purdy. Again, I'm biased there, having spent some time at Iowa State, know about his history. I mean, the kid has been a winner at every level, and he's been an underdog at every level. He wasn't, I don't know when Iowa State offered him late after he came to a camp. He didn't have, a lot of Division I offers, and he got there, played early, hung on to the job, and led them, a school that hadn't done a whole lot in recent history to, the best run that they've ever had. The kid's a winner. Number 10, I wasn't aware of all the trash talk, Bo. Thanks for enlightening me on that. But I had C.J. Stroud. I think he's what he did in his rookie year. I mean, I'm anxious to see what he's able to continue to build on. Let's hope he doesn't suffer from a sophomore slump. But if he's talking a lot of trash, could be headed that way. I had Dak number 11. I mean, I think Dallas is a tough place. I think quarterbacks, head coaches, a lot of times get too much praise and too much blame. I think there's a lot of teams that would love to have Dak Prescott. And then, man, I struggle doing it. And again, it's a sentimental move, but again, I have history with this guy, and I have history being with him in the locker room. And I have more history having to face him as a competitor was Aaron Rodgers, and he's either done, he's either retired, or he's going to come back. And he's just a guy that I would never bet against. The thing that does bother me a little bit with him is
outside interest.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Stroudish.
I go back to Coach Parcells. Bill hated celebrity. He did not. That was one of his 10 commandments for the quarterback. He did not like the celebrity quarterback. I mean, and just some of the stick to football, stay out of politics and drug use and all of that shit. You know what I mean?
Rodgers is leaning into.
You don't want to question what they're doing off the field or how much they're doing football wise off the field.
But if he can come back healthy, I mean, in terms of what makes Aaron's great is his cerebral ability, his ability to see the field. There's a lot of Peyton Manning there, a lot of comparisons in terms of knowing, what play to get into, where to take a shot.
But Peyton Manning was all about football. He was all about ball.
100%. I agree with you wholeheartedly. You never, ever would have seen, and still don't see Peyton Manning going off subjects, talking about things that really don't, relate to football. So again, this was a great exercise. Very, very tough to do. I mean, I really struggled whether or not to put Aaron on there. And, I struggle not having Trevor Lawrence on my list, Travis, because I've said, I think he's got a lot of potential. I just think he had a bad year, and
So let me ask you, you know a lot more, like you better than probably anyone else in this room. You have a lot more insight, I guess I should say, to a lot of these people like involved, the offensive coordinators, the coaches, etc. So do you give any weight to who the offensive coordinator is or what the offensive system is for these quarterbacks? Are you just talking about just pure talent, just them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they work together. I think that they go hand in hand together. But ultimately, the player has to be able to perform on the field. So I mean, he's got to have the physical skills. He's got to have the toughness mentally and physically. And I don't just mean, he's got to be able to. These guys all have to be extremely mentally tough to block out the noise, to not listen to the stuff we're talking about right now. You know what I mean? Not that we're a nationally syndicated show or anything, but they get it from every angle all the time. They either have somebody telling them how great they are or how terrible they are. And look, it's the same thing in coaching. But yeah, I think that a good offensive coordinator, good system, really can tremendously enhance the player's ability to execute. And I think that's the value in coaching is understanding what your players can and can't do. Probably more important to know what they can't do, not to put them in situations where they have to play left-handed. You know what I mean? Try to play to their strengths. I think the great coaches do that. So when we talk about, Brock Purdy, yeah, he is in a great system, but that doesn't. I don't think we should penalize him because maybe he's not the most as athletic as some of these other guys. He still is able to execute, and has proven now for 2 years that he could execute at a very, very high level in that league in a tough conference. You know what I mean?
You had Hurts, like you had Hurts in your top 5, and I know that I'm not a fan of the system that they run. That's not him. That's the OC. It's like a high school. It's like a high school system. It's really a problem. If I can tell that as a college athlete, I'm not in the league. Like that's something that's easily identifiable that I can call out. So I kind of deemed him for some of that. Yeah, but teams had a season to figure that out, and it's a wrap. And that's
the one thing that's consistent. And if you've been around the game as long as a lot of us have been around, I've seen so many great quarterbacks out of college get wrecked because of the system and lack of cohesiveness between the offensive coordinator and the head coach. I mean, everybody can, and let me tell you something. I've been laughed at enough, and I don't mind one more ridicule here. But I think Joey Harrington could be a whole lot better if he didn't have Marty Morningweg and Matt Millen and all that dysfunction around the Lions. He wouldn't have been a bust.
Well, you know the number one thing that wrecks all teams, wrecks players, wrecks coaches is ego.
Egos. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
The hard part is, you have prideful men that are playing and coaching this game, and it's difficult for a lot of them to put their ego aside, or not. Right. And then look, it's true. Ambition knows no bounds, right? I mean, I was fortunate enough today to run into a really good friend, old friend, guy that I worked with back at Army, and then my whole entire time with the Jaguars, Perry Fuel. Perry's working.
I remember that.
And I hadn't seen we talked, but I hadn't seen him in a while, and ran into him at practice today, and we were talking about that. It's like, man, you don't think that there is undermining that happens in the in all leagues? It does. It happens with scouts. It happens with coaches. It happens with it's just it's poisonous. I think those are the character traits that when you look at players, when you look to hire a staff. I mean, it may be difficult to learn those things, but those are the kind of things, you want to surround yourself, if you're a head coach, with people that are aligned with not just your philosophy, but also aligned with your, I think, your moral judgment and how you want to do things. And so
that's an excellent point. When you look at the Lions situation, how you have Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, and then you have Goff. I mean, that's exactly the model, whether it's those coaches or not, that you want to have. So you have consistency all the way around. And Coach, right. You really touched on some great points.
Well, I mean, it's you have to keep the team first. But what happens when you lose a game and the media and everybody starts firing shots? It's such a high accountability league. Someone's got to be at fault, right? And so, the leaders, I think that's one of the things that I really admire about Dan Campbell is he stands out in front as the head coach, and he takes those shots. You know what I mean? He puts it. Hey, maybe we didn't play well enough, but that's on me. We didn't prepare them well enough, and that's what I think a great coach does. He takes that pressure off of those players. A great offensive coordinator is going to do that. To your point, to answer your question, Travis, is going to do that for his quarterback. He's not going to, throw him under the bus. He's like, well, that maybe wasn't a great call for me, by me in that situation.
Right. All right. Well, excellent points all the way around. I knew that this quarterback thing would be a hot tamale. I think what we're going to do in the future is we're going to see if we can come up with a top 15 or 20 all the time and just devote a whole show to it. Because you know what? I'd be darned if I could pick 12 out of a league that's played for 50 to 100 years. But this was fun.
It's funny.
You said the top 12 all time, you said?
Yeah. No, I didn't say that.
Oh.
I said top 20.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'd enjoy top tight ends or something like that. That'd be interesting.
Top 20. I'd be hard pressed to give you a 20.
Well, that's all right. I'll give you enough time to research it.
I don't think Russell Wilson would make my top 20.
Well, he won't. Don't get off the Russell Wilson Kool-Aid.
I would say based on that, let's stick with 12.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. All right, we'll do that. Yeah, get off the Russell Wilson Kool-Aid already. I've heard it enough from you, Bart. Seriously.
I would like to see. I would like to hear coaches top 6 head coaches.
I just want you to know, Pro Football Focus has him at 22.
That'd be a fun one.
Well, here.
22 this year?
Yeah, for 2024.
I have to re-explain this whole thing again, just for those of you just joining us out here. Okay, and here's the thing. I based my list on success in the playoffs is what I did, and that's what I did. And I'm guilty as charged, okay? So I'll live with it, but you know what?
You said you based it on playoffs. When's the last time Russell was in the playoffs? He wasn't in the last couple of years.
Well, big deal. So what? I look at the body of work.
And you said playoff success. How did Allen land it too?
I mean, he got a coach fired faster than anybody.
Well, wait a minute. Here, let me explain something. It wasn't a matter of Allen landing it too. I was writing the list down. I wasn't worried about what order and how great they were in that order. I just came up with 12, and that's how I wrote them down. So but that's okay. It's been a fun show. It's been an absolute blast.
That ranking is on a shaky foundation, brother. It's on a shaky foundation.
You might have Bryce Young in your top 20. I'm scared. I'm nervous.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. If you work for WXYZ Radio when things are really wild in '79, this is a walk in the park from all the FCC regulations I had to deal with. You say one thing, there's a $10,000 fine with 10 grand in 1979, Coach. You know, it was worth a whole lot more money than it is now. You talk about if anybody's ever worked around the FCC. If you're not on pins and needles, you're really on pins and needles, man.
You can say whatever you want now. I mean, radio is.
Yeah, changing. I know, but I'm just talking. So if I'm going to get ridiculed for Russell Wilson, that's
Wilson out there was pretty close to an FCC violation.
You were doing good until then you lost him.
Well, all right, but you know what? That's okay. I can live with that. Hey, I don't have a big enough ego on the planet here where I can't take it on the chin once in a while, because I'll tell you why I say that. Because in my book, Lessons from the Microphone, Muhammad Ali drilled me in the jaw. James Toney did. And I had Chuck Wepner do it. And I had Sugar Ray Leonard. So this chin has gotten an awful lot, even though it's a little padded right now with gray. So I can handle it. I love you guys anyway. So if Russell Wilson is the degree of the ridicule, I'm fine with it. I don't care. So
Stick to your guns, Scott.
That's right.
Stick to your guns.
Okay.
What's that?
Stick to your guns.
That's it. Hey, listen, Coach. Dak Prescott was down on your list. It's not like he was at the top of the food chain. So, and you've been coaching way longer than I am, and I've been doing this broadcasting thing for a while. But
I mean, I don't think any of us had Dak high, but we had him on.
Yeah.
You know why I have Dak up there? You know why? I'll tell you. Here's my insider information on Dak. Is my quarterback at Central Michigan, Cooper Rush, is the backup there. And anytime I've ever talked to Cooper, he glows about Dak Prescott, how hard he works, what a good teammate he is, how unselfish he is. And I trust Cooper Rush. I know how that kid was raised, and I know that if he endorses and speaks so highly about a guy that he's competing with, the guy must have something special. So I go on the record. I'll always pull for Dak.
yeah, well, that's sure. Now it all comes out here an hour and 12 minutes into the show.
Well, I didn't say I pull for the Cowboys, but I pull for Dak.
I didn't say you pull. I don't pull for the Cowboys anyway. That's a different story. Yeah, hey, listen, it's okay. You're partial toward them, and people will laugh at me down the road that I'm always going to be partial toward Sammy Sosa too, even though everybody knows he was on steroids. But he played for me in 1987. We had a whole lot of fun in '87 when we put 12 people in the major leagues, coaches, managers. I'll be partial toward him. I mean, I didn't say he wasn't guilty of what he had done, but he gave me interviews, and we had a lot of fun. So you can be partial.
We all enjoyed watching him jack home runs.
Yeah, we did.
Thank you.
And you know what? And I saw him when he was skinnier than his pen back in Gastonia. Well, and then all of a sudden
we all enjoyed all the old school people jacking home runs. Those guys are on all the kinds of drugs, man. Come on.
Hey, but listen,
but
what it really comes down to here as we put
Mark
the show
McGuire's arms with tree trunks just 1 year.
Yeah. Well, that's what Andros T. Dione will do for you. But anyways, what it all comes down to is this: my great crew here that I will never ever break up, and I promise I'm going around, never break up the five of us. Okay, put that on record. The only difference was I'm the only one that didn't have Dak Prescott on the list, and you guys did, and I knew that was going to happen, and that's why we scheduled it the way we did. That's why there were no parting shots. So with that said, as we get ready to wrap it up, Candy Ebling, I know you're out there. Why don't you give us a station break? And these guys are sensational. And like I said, I'm going on record. I will never break up this fivesome as long as I'm alive. And they know what I mean by it, right?
So the no Dak Prescott list, right, Scott? Here we go.
I knew it.
South Florida Tribune Broadcasting Network is sponsoring this. We published a book. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by the fearless leader, the no Zach Prescott on the top 12 list, Scott Morgan.
No, I'm getting it from her.
It is available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google. Audiobook to be coming later this year. If you want to sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you see that red subscribe button, please hit it, like us, share us with all your friends. You never know, we might be talking top running backs later on, Mel, top 12. Hey, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. We got a topic talker too. Keep going.
Well, I said in the comments, you got to do a dream team. I think you guys got to.
I know. I saw that.
Every position, including the coaches. Come on, that would be kind of interesting. But
why
anyways.
are y'all hating on punters and kickers? What's going on here?
I didn't say that. All right.
And if you like podcasts, if you like to listen to it, you can listen to us at wherever you get your podcasts: iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Castbox, Deezer, Geo7, you name it, we're there. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. Scott writes. I take pictures, all kinds of interesting things, Jags news, Dolphins news, Lions news, a lot of local colleges down here. I know the Gators, I think, are in one of the championships. You name it, go to the website, look us up.
Hey, Candy, you're forgetting one big thing. There's also you guys also have a nice store on there where you can get your South Florida Tribune gear on just about anything you can imagine.
Actually,
I was just getting to that, but you beat me to the punch. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate that. Anything else, Scott? Oh, at Tribune South is Scott's Twitter. If you have any show ideas, southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights, you never know, we talk any sport. The same with Thursday. But Scott has a special show. It's on nofilter.net. It's called the Motor City Mad Mouse Show, and it typically is on Wednesdays. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Well, Ralph Williams chimed in. This is Mediocre Mike's last contract. All right, there's a comment about Mike Tomlin. Mediocre Mike. All right, that's a good one, Ralph. Okay, and then Feather Freebird, thank you very much. Another great show. Great stuff. I know we're going to have to wrap it up in a moment anyway. Be right back. There we go. Everybody's there. Okay, so with that said, Travis Holmes, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis Holmes on Twitter, Facebook, etc. You can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on bigcatcountry.com, where we have the today's takeaways and observations of veteran mandatory minicamp for the Jaguars today and tomorrow. Actually, I'll be back on the scene. And if you're looking for any Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, we have the Duval Diver Jaguars podcast every Friday at 11 a.m. wherever you catch your pod. As always, thank you for having me, brother.
Well, we enjoy having you. All you guys are the greatest. I swear, I look forward to this Tuesday night stuff with you guys, man. You guys are my dream team. If we do a dream team with precision plumbing, you guys are the dream team when it comes to football, and as well as people. All right, Mel, I know yours doesn't take as long as all of my outrageous garbage, but go ahead.
Yeah, find me on all the social media at Melfar Jr. Follow what we have going on here in Atlanta and also in Michigan for the youth at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Okay, go ahead, Bo.
Yes, you can find me here every Tuesday night. And, of course, on my channel at Football-Talk, all the socials at Football Talk with Bo, and, of course, on Roku TV 5 days a week.
Okay, and you go ahead, Coach.
You can find me on LinkedIn. That's the only social media platform that I'm currently on. You can find me here on Tuesdays most of the time, unless I'm in Cancun like I was last week. And then Wednesdays at 4 o'clock Eastern time on Roku TV, I'm on with Bo, the Coach's Corner with Bo. And next, I guess tomorrow, we're going to have Dan Lundy from Fourth Down University, who's up and coming and very successful kicking coach, for lack of a better. He's right down the street here in Ormond Beach.
Well, you know what, Bo, I'm proud of you. You know, Coach and I once talked about doing a show like yours, but unfortunately my schedule, I just can't accommodate anything during the day. But I'm glad if any decided to align with anybody, Bo. Aligning with you is brilliant, and I'm so happy. I hope that show goes really great. So, more power to both of you guys. That's what this is all about. Well, you know, I will say this before we sign off. What we have here is a family. Okay, Coach, Travis, Mel, Bo, and me. Okay, and you know what? That's what we enjoy about bringing you. Sometimes it's more straightforward. Sometimes I can just there and take a beating and enjoy doing it. I don't even care.
You missed my birthday check there, Dad.
What are you talking about? And by the way, if anybody wants to build a team store, go to Coach Bono. That'll make up for the birthday check you didn't get. There you go. He's your man there. So whatever. A birthday check. Yeah, you're only pointing this out.
No, we got to talk about your foundation. See if there's anything we can do with you on that.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, well, that's okay. But meanwhile, another great episode tonight. So on behalf of Coach Bono, now I'm his dad. Oh, goodness. So I'm not that much older, but going to call me dad, so be it. I'll take it. And Travis Sherlock Holmes, Bo knows football, and now Bo knows basketball. Okay. And Mel Farr Jr. This is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Man. Mel, thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Picton. I knew it'd be wild with this list, and I'm glad it turned out to be a whole lot of fun. We'll catch you next Tuesday night. Have a great week, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there as well. Take care.
Sure.